All right, welcome back. We are COMP1115. That's Game Programming 1 in the fall 2025 semester at Georgian, and it's week 5, part 2 of our broadcast and recording together. In the last part, I got you guys to rename your project, and by now, hopefully you've renamed it and the namespace. Please make sure your namespace is also ICE5, right? And what we want to do now is the next piece, which I talked about. Started talking about arrays. I started talking about this. Some properties of arrays, where arrays, we said, are a series of memory locations tied into a single variable name, and we use the indexer, right, or the index operator to access the array. That's what we asked you, we kind of talked about last time. And so we have some opportunities here. We talked about index out of range. We have some opportunities here to loop. So here's an example, guys. I need you to pay attention now. Hello, hello. My friends, I need you to pay attention now. All right. There is an opportunity here to do a little bit of a loop with an array. So here's a way to do that. So if I do a loop, notice that this loop, it uses the index, which is an integer. Okay, that's also something I got to talk about. When we talk about arrays and you want to access a memory location in an array, you must use an integer. Okay, it's got to be a 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. You can't use like a floating point number like 1.2. There is no 1.2. It's only 1, 2, 3, 4 because there's only a finite number of memory locations, a discrete number of memory locations. So we need to use discrete numbers, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, as opposed to real numbers like 1.2. That doesn't make sense. Okay. So we can say that here, the array, if the array was called array, in this case, we just named it array. You can call the array whatever you want. Okay, you don't have to call it scores. You can call it whatever, right? Like any other variable. One thing that we notice is there's also a property called length. So length is something else that comes from the array. We can kind of figure out how long, how big we've allocated, how many memory locations we've given the array, right? Let's do this. So I got some stuff, right? I've got some stuff in here that's repeatable. Look, here's my primary attributes. They're all single variables, right? But they're all attributes. Every single one of them are the same, right? They're all integers, and they're all attributes, right? So because they're all attributes and all integers, we could do something that looks like this. Here we go. Ready? Part of your in-class exercise 5. I want to do something like this. I want to say int, and let's call these primary attributes, and I want to make that an int array. So int array, here we go, int array, primary attributes, right? And I want to allocate, right, an amount of memory to hold them, which is 6. So here, if I did something like this, I have 6 primary attributes. Okay, so tell me again, explain back to me, someone, what I'm doing here when I do this. I want you to go through it one by one. Talk to me about what I've just done, right, just now. Your best ability, to your best ability.
You created a new array.
No. Straight from the left to the right, please.
You said that the arrays are integers.
I declared an array of type integer. That's what I did. First thing, I declared the array. Remember, there's the declaration step. See, I'm going to make you crazy. And then there's the initialization step, right? I declared an array of integers called primary attributes. That's my custom name. I can make whatever name I want, right? What's the new keyword do? I just talked about it. Like, what's the new keyword do? Yeah.
Dedicates memory to six.
You're there. Keep going. 6 what?
6 variables.
6 variables, 6 memory locations. Allocates memory for 6 memory locations. Right? That's what I've done. Of type. Integer. Of type integer. Right? So an integer array. That's what this part is. We read it like this: integer array named primary attributes. I have allocated. That's the new keyword. I've allocated 6 memory locations of type integer for this array, okay? This also can be called instantiation. Okay, so this is also, you can say, you know, declared integer array of, you know, named primary attributes. I'm going to go the whole length, okay, so you can understand, right? And then I allocated, or we can say instantiated, an array of length 6, actually, is what it is, right? So we've actually allocated memory for an array of length 6. And it's not any array, it's an int array. There we go, yes?
Does it matter when we put this declared integer array thing, or does it have to be right under the attributes in?
You can put it anywhere you want. I'm putting it there so you can see I've got attributes, and now I'm going to replace them with this, right?
Awesome. No, I'm just wanted to make sure.
You can put an integer array anywhere, but you want to make it so that we redeclare it again when we're inside the while loop right now, right? So imagine I'm declaring stuff because I want to wipe them away. Now here's something. In the while loop, we did this in the while loop, and we're going to keep it here for now, but all this is doing is reallocating and clearing memory every single time, right? We don't have to put this in the while loop. We can put it outside up here if we really want to. Like, for example, we can declare all our variables that we're going to reuse here, right? Because we don't have to, you know, make them inside the while loop. We don't have to do that, okay? So we've done that already with our random. Our random variable is our random number seed. That's what this is. So this kind of declares a random object, which is our random number seed. All right, that's what it does. Okay, it declares and instantiates an object. We'll say it declares and instantiates an object, a random number object. So instantiates is a funny word. You're going to hear that in semester 2. Instantiates means allocate memory, breathe life into. You know, lots of ways of thinking about this. But we're instantiating, right? We're actually doing that. Okay, so we're instantiating an object of type random, and that's what we're doing here. And I can simply do the same thing here. I can just actually take this stuff, just to your point. I can grab this and put it up here. I could do that. That's perfectly fine. That means that because it's inside the main scope, it's still available inside the while scope, right? It's just up here, right? So that's what this is. It allocates memory for this stuff, okay? Now we know we have 6 of these attributes, but we want to refer to them other than like 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's not really descriptive. What does 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 mean, right? You might remember them, you may not, right? So we can actually run something called a parallel array. Don't be freaked out by the name. It's just 2 arrays running together. So let's make another array. And this time it'll be a loop. A string. So string, array, and we'll call this primary attribute names. And we could say that there's 6 strings like this. We could do that. But there's another way to declare an array. Here's another way to do this. We could say, I want to use initialization syntax instead. If I do something like that looks like this, where I say something like agility, strength, vigor, perception, that. And we'll keep going with intellect and will. And I don't know why, but my word wrap is turned off. Let's just turn it back on. So again, to turn on word wrap, I'm going to go to Tools, Options. You probably have this on already. And I'm going to go over to Text Editor if you don't have this, C#, and I'm going to turn on word wrap because that's just making my life easier. There we go. And a semicolon, right? If I do this, this is another way. All right, I'm just going to put this like this so you can see it too. This is another way of declaring the array and initializing it. If I know what I want to put in the array right away, I can do this. That's another way of doing it, okay? Where I put curly braces in here instead of viewing this other stuff. I could do a different way. There's many ways of doing this. But imagine if I have to allocate, I mean, the long way, this is the short way. The long way would be something like this. You know, primary attributes names, 0, right, is equal to agility, right? Primary attribute names 1, this is the long way, is equal to strength. You could do this too, right? And you'd have to declare, of course, you couldn't do this up here. You'd have to do something like this, new string of 6 locations, and then you do this, right? But we already know what those things are going to be. So there's a new quick syntax like this that allows me to do that, okay? So I don't have to do this anymore. Yes?
Is there any difference between using curly braces and using square braces to do
There
something
is.
like that?
There is. The second one is called the collection expression. It's an actual thing, right? And actually, it's preferred, right? The preferred way to do this, instead of doing it this way, is to do this way. Actually use square brackets, like so. This is the preferred way. This is the new way for the latest version of C#. And we should do it this way. Whenever we want to declare something, instead of it calculating what it's going to be, we can do it this way. And what this also does is it uses something called implicit allocation, right? As opposed to explicit allocation, which is me doing each one like each one like this. I don't want to do this, right? So now that I have 2 parallel arrays, so what I've done here is I've created parallel arrays. Parallel arrays mean just 2 arrays, and they're actually talking about the same thing. I kind of put this in brackets inside the document as well. It's the same thing. I'm still talking about attributes, right? But instead of talking about attributes like this, right? I've talked about attributes like this. Let's also do this for the secondary attributes. So we're going to have, just for practice, not for any other reason, and for more of a contrived thing, I want to say my secondary attributes is a new int array that's 3 long, because I only have 3 of them, right? And my secondary attributes names are going to be these square brackets, which are awareness, toughness, and resolve. By the way, if you're curious about where I'm getting all this crazy crap, it's the game I'm making. All right? So actually what you're getting is a preview of my tabletop role-playing game that we've been working on for the last 2 years, but actually been in the work for about 30 years, right? So I'm teaching the game to you. That's my underlying motive. One day you may play. Or you may never play. It's okay. All right? So this is what this is. So I've kind of done these and I've kind of done these. Well, how do I replace these and these with these? Because I've already made them, right? So this is created parallel arrays for primary attributes, right? And I made parallel arrays for secondary attributes. That's what I'm doing here, right? Again, they're 2 different arrays. One is a string array, and the other one is an integer. Let's go back to the PowerPoint for a second to explain what I'm doing here. So, again, you can definitely loop through stuff. You can, if you want to ever look at the last element of the array, you can use the caret operator. That's what it's called, the caret, right? The caret operator, and then you can look at the last element of the array. So if you would need to do that for some reason, okay? You can do that. What was that?
I just said cute rabbits.
That's right, rabbits. And ranges, this is another way of doing it. This is kind of a modern way of doing it, where you can say, I want to declare, the first 3 scores, as an example, from 0, ... 3. The ... is a range operator. That's a thing in C#. It never used to be, but the latest version of C# does allow this to happen. All right, so the ... operator. I'm not sure if you had that in Java. So that is something that you can do. So what this works to be is like saying from 0 to 3, but not including 3. That's how you read this. So it's like really 0, 1, 2. That's how you notice this as well. So that's just another type of syntax when you want to access stuff. You can also go from the first location to the last location, but not including the 0th location or the very last location. Remember, because the last location is not included here. And you can also do 2 to the end. So you don't have to use 2 dot dot. And that means from the second location all the way to the end, right? That's how we do it here. So anything except for the first 2. So lots of ways to use ranges to allocate things. And we talked about this. You can definitely use the new keyword here. This is a new way of doing it. The new keyword while you're allocating. We've done this. You can also not talk about how much it is. And we can also did it the way we did it. You don't have to use the int thing at all, right? This methodology here is explicitly telling you what you want to do. This is better because you're not counting how many there are in here. What if I wanted to put 20 more in there? You don't want to, oh, I put 20. Okay, well, I got to put the number in here. That's going to be a little bit annoying. So that's why they allow you to leave it out, and it just counts it for you. It says, I don't know how many you want to allocate, how many elements. If you know what the elements are, you can put them in, and then we can allocate it. It'll allocate for you. But what we did was even better because we don't have to even put any of that stuff. We just put the square brackets, and it's the same thing. It just basically assigns automatically each of these string elements to the string array. So again, think about what I'm doing here. When I'm declaring the array, I'm allocating memory, right, next to each other, right? And at the beginning, it's all empty. And then what I'm saying is, let's assign the value, these string literals, let's assign these string literals to the location. So here I've had 6 locations. Instead of me explicitly saying 6, I could also declare it like this. Like I said, I could say int 6 locations and put curly braces here instead. This is the other option. I could do this, right? But look at that extra syntax. I need to use the new keyword too. I could do this, but look at that extra syntax, right? And it's actually giving me errors. It's saying things like represents text, cannot implicitly convert type string to int. Oh yeah. See me? String, int, there we go. How about this? There we go, right? So new string, notice how that's dimmed out? It's all dimmed out. See that? It's dimmed out because the system is telling you it's redundant. You don't need it. That's what it's telling you, right? So if you see something like this where it says it's all dim like this, like grayed out, it means, okay, I'll take your direction, but this is unnecessary. That's what it means. Visual Studio is telling you it's not necessary, right? So I could do this, but I don't need to. I can go back to my really simple syntax, which speaks way more to me like this than the other way, okay? But I want you to know what it's doing. It's actually allocating memory for those 6 locations, okay? So that's what we're doing here. Now we've talked about the for loop, right? But we can actually use the for each loop. That's a new loop. This is the 4th type of loop we've been talking about this semester, right? We have the do while, the for, and now the for each. This is the 4th loop that we're going to use. So how does the for each different? So here's a for loop, right? A for loop might look like this. I have the scores array in this case, and as I'm looping, I take the index and I'm basically reading from the scores array, saving it in this other new variable called score, and printing it out. That's what I'm doing here. Okay, and I'm doing this for scores length, which means in this case the scores length is 10. So from 0 to 9. So it's going to go score 0, score 1, score 2, score 3, score 4, all the way to 9. That's what this is. And if you know how many iterations you want to go through, the for loop is pretty good. And actually, we're going to use the for loop a lot with arrays. Absolutely. Okay, more than the while loop. But sometimes we'll also need to use the for each loop. Here's the for each loop. It's actually got a simpler syntax. We do this: for each int score in scores. Whoa. Okay, new syntax. So it's basically, I want you to read it like this: for each score in scores, or for every score in scores. Think about each of those memory locations as a score, right? You just have a series of scores inside the scores array. That's what it is, right? So for each score inside of scores, loop. That's what this is, right? And the funny thing is you have 2 new keywords, right? You have for each and you have in, right? Scores, this part right here, has to be the collection. So it could be an array. In the future, you're going to learn about lists and other kinds of things. So you can put any collection on this side. So for every element in the collection, loop. That's what it's really doing. for every element in the collection. Remember, I can also call or refer to the stuff inside the array as elements. I have 6 elements here in the array, 6 string elements, 6 integer elements, 6 whatever elements, or whatever number of elements. We call them elements because we don't know what they are. They could be whatever the array is going to hold, okay? Again, just new terminology for you. So we can call them elements, okay? So going back to this, we can say for every element in the array, in the collection, an array is a collection of similar elements. They all have to be the same type, integer, string, whatever. I'm repeating myself, but I want you to get the terminology. I want you to think about it when I'm saying, right? Loop. So positives and negatives about this, you don't get an index. This is indexless. I'm going through and I'm actually using the score as the element, which means when I loop through, I'm saying, okay, get the 0th element. That's for agility, right? And that's what I'm going to print out if I was going to do it this way for a for each loop, okay? So positives and negatives, and I talk about them here, right? If you want to use something like my score number 3 is 82, that's really a for loop type, okay? And the for each loop has a bit of overhead. So for people who like performance, for each loop, not great if you're going to use it inside of some kind of update function, like in Unity as an example. Why? It's got a little bit more overhead than a for loop. A for loop, my friends, is the fastest loop you could do. Faster than while loop. Why? While loops require management overhead, administrative overhead to make the while loop go. You have to have a condition. You have to do this. For loop is very straightforward. It's quick, quick, quick. Okay? Back to this. Before we get into multidimensional arrays, let's go into this. Let's replace now, this is the exercise. Let's replace my agility, strength, vigor, and stuff like that with this stuff. How do I do it? Well, where we start using it, I'm going to go down to where we start using it, and that's here, right? I got my agility, my strength, blah, blah, whatever here, right? That's where I start using this. So I could do something like this. I could say for, you know, and I could do a for loop, and I could run through it like this, where I can say like, you know, for attribute, right, is equal to 0, where attribute is less than 6, loop, and then I can say my primary attribute 0 is equal to, and I can allocate the number, right? But it's weird. It's almost like I'd have to do this. I'd have to do like, if I was going to replace it, I'd have to do, you know, primary attributes 0, that's not really descriptive, is equal to 35. That's how I would replace agility, right? Rare. That's not great, right? There's a better way, right? What we're doing here is we're allocating careers.
I'm so sorry about this.
No problem, Damien. Are you okay? Huh? I would turn it off, Damien. So we could definitely do this, right? But this is a waste of our time. We know we're getting an array of values for each of the army, for Scion, Rogue, Telepath, Thinker, and so on. What should I do? Make 2 parallel arrays. Actually, we'll make more than 2 parallel arrays. Here we'll make this first part, okay? So the first part we're going to make is a set of, again, there is a career that I can make. So I'm going to start off and I'm going to say something like an int career. We're going to call this army, right? And what we're going to do is we're going to put in the attributes for the army in here. So I'm going to go down to the army and say that here's 35, 35, 30, 30, 25, 25, oops, and put them in here. So I'm going to say something like 35, 35, 25, or sorry, 30, 30, 25, 25, and that's the array of values for army. Are you getting me here, what I'm trying to do, right? Instead of me having to allocate each individual one, since I'm talking about 2 different arrays of the same size, I can loop through and say, if it's army, then make a copy of the army into this. I don't have to loop at all, okay? So I can definitely loop, but this is definitely a better way to do it. I could also say the next one, which is, I believe, Scion. I can create all of them, and Scion is, what is that? 30, 35, 30, 25, 35, 25. I'm not going to remember that. I'm just going to copy paste this just for now and fix it. Sorry, go back up here and fix it. So I'm not going to remember. Just going to do one of these. Just get rid of all those things, right? So all I care about is the numbers, right? That's really what I care about. I don't care about, you know, the names right now. I just care about the numbers. And I can do the same thing for the other ones. So let's go ahead. I'll let you do it. Copy these names. Make 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 arrays, right, for Army, Scion, Rogue, Telepath, and Tinker. 5 arrays, okay? So the next one is Rogue. I'm just going to grab this part, copy it, and go back to here. Okay. And clean it up. I believe it's this. I'm not going to remember that. 3035. For Tinker, I'm not going to remember. It's just, all I'm doing is just copy pasting to get those careers down like this. Awesome. And we do need one more, which will be a string array of careers, right? Where we say Army, Scion, Rogue, Telepath, and Tinker. We don't care about the random one because that we know is random. So we're not going to allocate that. Are you with me? So I've got a bunch of different arrays, and all I'm doing here is making you practice, right, at this point. Don't worry about it so far. I'm making you practice, create different arrays. All we're doing is creating different arrays. We've created arrays right at this point, right? 2 for the primary attributes, 2 for the secondary attributes, 5 for the you know, for the career stats, and 1 for the name of the careers. Why do I want to do this? Why? Why am I doing this stuff? This is crazy, right? To save time, and so I do not repeat myself. That's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to avoid repeating myself. Avoid repeating myself. Because I repeat myself too much, right, in my code. And if I'm too repetitive in my code, I can do better. That's why. I can do better. What if tomorrow I wanted to swap out the numbers for my Army, Navy, or whatever I'm going to make? What if tomorrow I wanted to change my ability scores to show something else? I want to go back to D&D as an example. And I want to use, you know, strength. My God. See what happens? Strength, dexterity, you know, and those kind of things. You know, constitution, intelligence, will, and charisma. Or, you know, I think it's will and charisma, right? Wisdom, charisma. I'll be okay. See what happens? My brain is still in my game. I don't even care about D&D anymore. But yeah, if I went to that, I mean, I could change his ability scores, the 6 ability scores. I could change them up, and I can make this a D&D character design, you know, character creator instead of whatever this thing is, this beast, right? So, and instead of using these numbers, I can allocate other kinds of things for, you know, defaults. These are kind of like what these are, right? These are career templates. That's what they are, right? So if you think about it, all I'm doing is I'm allocating these career templates instead of doing what I'm doing. So wouldn't it be nice if I can take this and allocate them or copy these numbers into this primary attributes instead of me going through the loop Instead of me looping through and going, okay, I'm going to loop through and allocate one and the other one at a time, can I do it all at once? Now, this is a beautiful thing about arrays. Arrays have a copy function where I can copy one group of elements into another one, right? How do I do that? So back down to this. So where I was talking about this, instead of doing it this one at a time would be like primary attribute 0, primary attributes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, as an example. That's really terrible. Wouldn't it be nice if I could do something like primary attributes equals to some kind of copy function, right? So I want to copy one thing to another. And we have some of those functions here. So in the PowerPoint, before we get to multidimensional arrays, I want to come down to this part right here, where there is, I talked about parallel arrays already. There is on page number 36, there is a class that allows me to do copies, okay, copy functions. Okay, so here's some copy functions that I could do. I can do a clear command. A clear command using the array class will clear the array. So if I want to quickly clear the array back to its defaults, I could do that with the clear command. I can use the copy to command. I can get the length of the array. I can get the lower boundary, where the array starts, where the array is the upper boundary, where the array ends, right? I can search inside of an array and find an object using index of. I can reverse the arrays itself. So I can go, instead of like it going strength to, will, I can go from will back to agility or whatever. I can literally reverse the array altogether. I can sort the array alphabetically if I really want to. And I can also convert the array, if it's possible, to a string, like the whole array itself, to the string itself. So this is kind of neat, right? So it's kind of neat that you can do all these commands. Some of them are built into the array itself. So I want to copy into my primary attributes. So there's a couple ways to do this. I could use the array copy command, where I can say something like array dot copy to, right, like this, and I want to go from my source, which is going to be my army array, to my destination, which is going to be my primary attributes array, right? I could do that. That's what I want to do. And copy to, it says I have the array, and the integer 32 represents, what I want to do. Actually, it's not copy to, it's copy. I want to do copy from array copy, right? From array to thing, and it requires a length, right? So notice where it says like this, there's 3 overloads here for this copy function, right? I can go from source to destination and the length, and it says the length is specified as a 32-bit integer. So how many elements do I want to copy from the array? Well, we want to say that it's going to be army.length, or we can just say 6 if we know the number, right? We know we're copying 6 elements from the army array into the primary attributes array, and that's what it would do. So this little command here takes the place of all of this, right? We don't have to do any of that stuff, right? Because what it's doing is saying, hey, look inside the army array. That's this. Look inside the army array and go from each element. For each element, copy them into the primary attributes array. Yes.
Is there any reason why agility is over here?
No. This is just the old abilities, right? I haven't replaced them yet. I'm just showing you the transition. I'm migrating. I haven't done it yet. Okay. I'm just showing you this is the old stuff, but I could just do it in one line instead of doing it in like all these lines. I can just do it in one line. Okay. Here's another way to do it. I don't have to do it this way. I could also do it like this. I could make a for each loop. Here's a for each loop. I could say something like for each, right? And I could loop through for each element in the array. Let's say, for example, for every attribute, we'll call it, in primary, we'll say in every attribute in army, right? Or primary attributes actually makes more sense. For every attribute in attributes, I want to copy from my army into my array. So I can do something like, attribute is equal to, I can assign that attribute a value, right, coming from my other array. The problem is that I have to, for every, it would have to be like a double loop, almost like this. It would have to be like for each, inside the one, I can do the other, int, you know, army attributes. For each army attributes in army, there we go, right? And I can do a loop like this where I can say something like, okay, well, I want to take the attribute and I want to make a copy of it from the army attribute. I can do something like this. But the problem is, if I did this attribute, it says attribute is integer, army attribute is also integer, and it says there's an error. It says cannot assign attribute because it is a for each iteration variable. See, I can't do this kind of stuff. I'd like to be able to do this, so what's the better way of doing it? A for loop. So a double for loop would be, or a single for loop. Let's try a single for loop instead. So I can do for loop, there we go, and I can say for every int, we'll say that, we'll say this will be the index, right? Where index is equal to 0, where index is less than, we'll say the primary attributes dot length, because we can say how long that is. Right now we know it's 6. If you really know it's 6, you can just put 6 in there if you really care for that, right? And then index plus plus. And then inside there we can say something like primary attributes index is equal to army index. That's the same thing. Does this compute this? Does this look better for you? Do you understand this more than this? They're the same. Okay. So which one do you want more? I'm looking at you now. Which one do you understand more? Not you. Which one? Yes. Which one do you understand more? Do you understand any of them? First of all.
I understand the for one more than the.
This makes more sense for you, right? Because this is looping through each one. I'm looping from 0 to the army, right? The army length. So each one, I'm basically going like this. I'm saying, let's go back up to the top. I'm saying the 0th location is going to be 35. The first location is going to be 35. The second location is going to be 30. The third location is going to be, and so on. Okay, that's what's going to happen. So it's basically just allocating, assigning from one array to the other. This is the great use of parallel arrays. We have a bunch of these parallel arrays, and we're just assigning one thing to the other thing. This is a great use case for this. Okay? So this is definitely a way of doing it as well. You can do it this way, or you can do it this way. Okay? Each way is the exact same. This, you might think that this is like a one-liner. It is, but my question to you would always be, whenever you use a function like this, is what's the overhead? Remember, this function is being written by somebody else. So if you kind of hover over the function, the copy function, and if you press F12, right, then it takes you to the function. This is what the function actually looks like. Okay? I'm not joking. This is what you're doing when you're using that function. This. Okay? When you're using the copy function, it's actually doing all of this. Okay? Yeah, baby. So it's easy, but it's not always better. Your better is the for loop. Why? Because the for loop is a beautiful thing. It's fast, it's efficient, and it only takes 3 lines of code. This takes a whole lot more code. It's easier to do it with the copy function, 100%. Way easier to do it with the copy function, but this is like a lot of overhead. I got to allocate memory, I got to do all this stuff. And if I was doing this instead of an update function in Unity, something like this, that's bad. Okay, don't do that. Go with the simplest, most primitive structures when you're doing game development. The simplest primitive structures, and you're going to get way more performance. Once you start using more complex structures like this, bad, right? So again, people don't think about it. They're like, wow, hey Tom, why don't you use this really cool built-in array copy thing? Yeah, that's a great idea. If I was lazy, right? So, okay, cool. So this is not what I want to do. I can do it, but I don't want to do it, okay? I want to do a for loop to allocate each one. And now I don't need all of this, right? But, however, I need this somewhere else. If I take these away and I select the first option, right, then I'm going to have a problem. And also, I'm going to do this for loop every single time. Every single time. I'm going to do the for loop, which means this is a great candidate for a little function. Think about it. I'm going to do this exact same thing over and over again. I'm going to copy, paste, copy, paste. When you see me copy, pasting in your mind, you're going to say, that's inefficient. That's wrong. Tom's doing this just to start, because there must be a better way. There must be a better way, my friends. There must be, which means I want to create a little function to do this. Let's do it. Back to the bottom, right? I want to make a new function, and what does this function do? It basically copies our own little copy function that copies from one array to the other, right? I'm going to pass it two arrays. I'm going to pass it the first array, which is my primary attributes, and the second array, which is the values. Okay, that's what I want to be able to do, right? So I want to say, and what is it going to return? Is it going to return anything at the end of the day? The answer is no. I'm not going to return anything. I'm going to just do the stuff. Here's why I don't have to return anything. When I pass my stuff to an array, and it's an array that I'm passing into, an array is a complex data type. So I'm actually getting a reference to that array, right? I'm making a reference to it. Now, I could, if you're nervous, I could return something back out. I could do my magic and then return out the proper array. I could do that too. But in that case, you know, I mean, let's see how this works. So again, I'm going to make an array. It's going to return void, and I'm going to call this, you know, we're going to say something like use career template, okay? That's what we're going to do. Use career template. And now we know two things, right? Here's what we know. We know that it's always going to be copying inside of, it's a very specific use case. I'm copying my career into my what? Into my primary attributes. That's what I'm going to actually do, right? So elements that I got to pass in. Do I have to pass in the career? I need to pass in some kind of indicator which career, right? I could pass in the career name. I want to pass a copy, right? So I could say something like career name. So it's of type int. So an int array called career, right? That's what I want to pass in. And what I want to do is inside of here, I want to say something like I did before. I want to take this same for loop. I want to copy paste this for loop for a second. Hear me out. I want to copy paste this for loop. And I want to put it back in here. Here it is. But instead of being army, I don't want to use army. I just want to use career. Oop. Like this. Are we clear? Even this is not efficient. Okay? We'll talk about why in the future. But for now, what this does is you pass in a reference to the career you want to use, Army, Navy, whatever it's going to be, Scion, Telepath, and it's going to replace the career with whatever it is. Career is just a placeholder for the actual array name. That's what we're doing here, okay? We're making a function that allows me to allocate any career to this, which is way better than doing the copy function that you saw earlier that was like, I don't know, 30 lines of code, okay? Let's see how we can use this thing. So if I go back up here, let's try this out. If I use career template, and I pass in my career, in this case Army, this is how it should look. One line, it's a beautiful thing, and I can do this every single time. Which means, my friends, right, that I can even go crazy and do that here. So I can say use career template Scion, right? Use career template Rogue. Use career template Telepath. Use career template Tinker. Uh-oh, I'm in trouble now. How can I use a career template on this one? I can't, is the answer, right? But instead of rolling 5d10 a bunch of times, I can do a for loop here. I can do something like this. Oh, well, actually, I can use my career template. How can I use my career template again? I want you to think about this for a second, right? So Tinker is definitely a career template, a career, right? But I mean, you know, I could pass in some other stuff. I think it's too advanced, so I'm gonna go on. I'm gonna go for loop. Let's do a for loop. I'll do an index of 0, where index lowercase I, index int, index which is equal to 0, where index is less than 6. Less 6. Then we can just do this. We can just do a for loop, and then we can just do something like primary attributes index is equal to roll 5d10. Can I not do that? Where I basically roll 5d10 in a loop. All right, so that's what I want to do. This is where I want to get to. You see what I'm saying? Are you getting me? So instead of me having to go agility, strength, vigor, perception, and intellect, blah, blah, whatever, one at a time, I can do them all at once, right? There's a great many options here for how I can proceed. But one thing that I want to do, and one thing I'm worried about, is down here. I'm worried about this, right? Because these are agility, strength, vigor, blah, blah, whatever. Wouldn't it be nice if I printed out these console write lines in a loop? I think we need another little function to do this for me called print array, right? Or print attributes. Let's do that first before we actually replace anything. I'm preparing. I'm still preparing. Okay, I'm not doing anything yet. Let's go back to my little functions here, and let's make a new one. It's going to be f-type void. And I'm going to call this print attributes. Okay, the print attribute function. Now I want to be able to print both the two attributes. I want to print the secondary attribute, and I want to also print the primary attributes. That's what I want to do. And so what I need is both arrays. I need the names. I want to print those out, and I also want to print out the values. And I want to print the names, and I want to print out the values. So the names go first. So this will be the array names. So again, it's going to be a string array of, so we're going to call this attribute names, right? And an integer array, right, called attribute values, okay? Attribute names, attribute values. And then what I want to do is I want to duplicate this one line, right? This one line in a for loop. So let's do a for loop. Here's a quick way to do a for loop. If you type in the word for in Visual Studio, there's 3 options here. Notice there's a bunch. This one that looks like a little box, if you actually just double click it, this one, you get this, right? So there's a way of doing this where if I type in for, and if I do this and press tab, I can get this automatically, which is kind of gives me my an integer, we can call this index, kind of thing, and I can kind of go in here and put that all in. Global system, blah, blah, whatever, 32, I can just call this an integer, right? And the length is going to be the length of one of these arrays. We know it's 6, because we know we're going to copy 6. But wait. We can't make it 6. Why? Because we want to use both the secondary array, which is secondary attributes, there's only 3 attributes there, and the primary attributes have 6 of them. So we're going to have to kind of look at how many names we're doing. So we're going to say something like attribute names dot length. We don't know how many in this case. Attribute names dot length. And then in here, I want to do one of these. I want to copy this part, this console log, or console write line. And then instead of agility being in here, I can just put in the attribute name. So this is attribute name. Index, right? And this is, instead of agility, this is attribute values index. So that actually is going to print out those things instead of me printing it out manually. Now, here's something else that's a beautiful thing that you can do. All right? See this little semicolon, right? Semicolon, like sensor, right? Instead of doing it like this, I know that I probably need, if I go up to here, how many characters do I need for perception? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, maybe another space after that, and then I can print the colon, right? So if I know it's let's say 10 characters in the column, here's a really quick way of doing that. I can go down here and I can say, after the value, I can say comma minus 10, right? And what this does is it says, I want 10 spaces allocated for my output, left justified. The minus means left justified. We're going to learn more about this next week, or we can do more string manipulation next week. But this is what I want you to do for now. All right, so there's my print attribute in local function. I've got 3 local functions: roll 5d10, use career template, and print attribute. Okay, that's what I have. I want to put these in place. How do I do that? In here, instead of doing agility blah 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 blah, I want to wipe these out. It's the first change we're going to make, and we're going to say something like print attribute, and we're going to pass in, now the attribute names array is going to be the primary attributes names, and the attribute values is going to be primary attributes, like this. Okay, so I've wiped this whole thing away, and I can do the same thing with the same function, print attribute, and this time I'm going to call the secondary attribute names and the secondary attributes themselves. There we go. And that, my friends, is much better than what I had before. Yes? No? Since I have these like this, right? Since I have these like this, then what I want to do, and again, I'm doing your in-class exercise with you right now. This is part of it, right? Since I have these like this, the one thing that's missing is all this, right? I don't want to do this. What do I want to do here instead of this? All I'm doing is migrating. I'm migrating from the old way of doing things to the new way of doing things with my arrays. I haven't done it yet. I'm going step by step, right? What do I do to replace this stuff? Again, awareness is a secondary attribute. So I can say something like, secondary attributes, and we know awareness is 0, and that's equal to my agility, which is my first primary attribute. Primary attributes 0, right? Plus my primary attributes, I believe 3, right? And then my secondary attributes 1 is equal to my primary attributes 1 plus my primary attributes 2. And then finally my secondary attributes 2 is equal to my primary attributes. By the way, if you're lost, that's okay. I'm not trying to lose you, I swear, right? But I want you to think about what I'm doing here. Does this compute? Think about what I'm doing. Primary attributes go from 0 to 6, or 0 to 5, right? And agility is the first one. Perception is the third one. Strength is the first one. Vigor is the second one. Intellect is the fourth one. And will is the fifth one. So I've replaced this with this. Now I'll tell you something, guys. This is our next iteration, but it's not great. You know why it's not great? I don't know what these things mean. Later on, 5 years from now, if I go back and go like, what the hell is this stuff? It doesn't make any sense to me. There's another better way of doing this, but we're not going to do that today. Okay? So let's put some comments here when we're going to migrate. So migrating from previous code is what we're going to put here, and we're going to comment these out. So awareness, toughness, and resolve, comment it out. That's what the previous code was. This is the new code. All right? let's do the same thing up here. We can migrate this. So this is migrating from previous code. Okay, this is all, we can just comment this out. So I'm just going to do a mass comment here from here to here. I'm leaving the has chosen career is true there, but I'm killing all these, so I don't need that. And I'm going to do the same thing for all of these. So again, if I highlight this, and if you look up here at the top, notice there's a little comment out button, right? Control K plus Control C. If I just do this, boop, they're all commented out. If I click it again, boop, they're commented out again. Or I can uncomment them. There's a little comment button up here, right? So that's what this is. These two buttons up here. I can comment it out like just with one blow. So instead of me having to do each one, I can just select these and click the comment button. Select these and click the comment button, like this. Okay, I don't need these anymore because I'm migrating. I'm migrating from my old code base to my new code base. And I haven't tested any of this yet, all right? All right, there's still some more we can do here. That's for you to do. I don't even need this stuff. I can comment this stuff out now. Let's comment this out, and we can comment this out too. All right? This is our first iteration of our new code. There's no errors. See that there's no errors here? Let's run this thing and see if I still get the same stuff. Let's see if I made a mistake. So I run it. And I still get this. I make a career Army, and I get my Army career. It's all the exact same, my friends. There's no difference from one thing to the other thing, all right? But we can do better. Let's put this up on GitHub. So I did a big thing here. I did a lot of stuff, and I could have done individual little changes and putting up on GitHub. I did it because we're going to run out of time if I do that right now. But here's what I want to do. I want to make a new branch. I want to make a new branch. My new branch is going to be the thing I'm developing. It's going to be called the array branch. All right, so I'm going to do this. I'm going to say git branch. Let's do this together. And I'm going to make a brand new branch called the array feature. Or we can call this, actually, I like to start with feature first. Let's talk feature array, like this. The array feature array branch. Now, what this means is if I do a git branch again, you can see that I have two branches. I have the main branch and I have the feature array branch. This is part of your homework. If you don't know what this is, you haven't read your homework, okay? So this is git branch feature array. I want to check out the feature array. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to say git checkout, right? And I want to check out the feature array, all right? There we go. And if I look at that, if I look at my feature array, and if I go git branch, you can see now that the little asterisk shows me I'm on my feature array branch, not on my main branch. Why am I switching branches? Why am I doing this? What's the reason for branches? If you read your notes, yes. I don't want to mess up my main branch. I don't even know if this is going to work, right? So instead of messing up my main branch, I work in my feature branch, and then when I'm done and I'm confident that everything is going to work well, I can merge back in. That's what I want to do. All right, great. So now let's push to this branch. So I'm going to say git add dot git commit minus m, and we'll say migrated attributes and, well, what else do we do? Attributes and careers to arrays. Git push. Now it says this, fatal. Git, if there's ever a thing that says git, there's no upstream branch, you can just do git push minus u, actually, sorry, git push origin and into the feature branch, feature dash array. That's what we're doing. Git push origin to feature array. That's what I have to do. I can't do git push because git push pushes to my main branch. That's the default. And what I want to do is I want to push into my new branch. So my command was git push across the origin remote into my feature array branch. So what does this look like on GitHub? Let's go back and check that out. So if I check that out, Do I even see it, is my question. What the heck? Here it is. Well, here's my main branch. I've got 2 branches now. Look, take a look at it. I have 2 branches and 9 commits, right? 2 branches and 9 commits. Look, it says feature array had recent pushes 32 seconds ago. Okay? If I go to my commits, that's the last commit on my main branch, what I did, an hour ago, right? I've been working for an hour on my feature. That's what I've been doing, right? So how do I fix this? How do I show the branch? Well, if I go back to code, and if I go to branches, you can see I have 2 branches. I have the feature array branch, right? And I have the main branch. So if I go to feature array, then I can see what I did. This is what I saw in the feature array branch. Here it is, right? And you can see all the code that I did and all that stuff. Whereas, if I go back to code and I go to branches, and if I go into the main branch, and if I look in the program file in the main branch, I see the old code. This is why we branch, because think about this, right? What if I'm a developer and I'm working with you on a Unity project? Next year it's going to be Unreal with me, right? We're working on a project, and I add a feature, and you're the main developer, or you're a group of developers. You don't like my feature. My feature doesn't work. My feature breaks the build, right? That's bad. But if I do it here, right, with my branches, the main branch. I want you to think about this. What I said in your notes is the single source of truth. This is the main line. You don't want to break your build, right? You want to test it in a feature and then push it to main. I'm not done my feature yet. We have more work to do. Let's continue. So back here, I'm in my feature branch. Hopefully you guys did the same thing as me, right? I'm in my feature branch, and what I want to do here in my feature branch is continue to migrate stuff. We can do better. We can do better than this, right? And by the way, I'm just going to skip down to your in-class exercise for a second. Right, here's your in-class exercise. We did this part. We've done this part. Right, believe it or not. I've already done this part with you, right? And we've done this part. Here's another way of doing it. I'm using jagged arrays of parallel careers arrays. I want to do this next. How do I migrate from my career array to this? How do I do that? Well, this is something called a multi-dimensional array. Let's talk about that really quickly. So if you were killed before with arrays, multi-dimensional arrays are going to melt your brain. Let's talk about melting brain stuff. Imagine you're in math class and you're making a matrix, right? You guys making matrices in math? Yeah, here it is. I want to make a 2 by 3 or 3 by 2 matrix, right? Basically, it's 2 columns and 3 rows. So when I do matrices, do I do column row or row column? How do I kind of talk about matrices in math? Yes. Do you know? Okay. Anyone else? So let's suppose it's row column. So that's like 3 by 2, right? So that's how it is here. This is the row, 3 rows, and this is the column, right? So I could make a matrix this way, and this is notice I'm using these square brackets. These square brackets says I'm doing this. I'm making array of arrays. An array of arrays. You can do this. So you can nest an array inside arrays, or arrays inside of an array. Warning, they have to be the same type. Okay? So you can't make an integer array and a string array inside of an integer array. You can't do that. Okay? In the future, we have another type of construct that does those kind of things. But for now, this is how it works. And the way you access inside of the array is you're like, okay, so this is row 0, column 1. Row 0, column 1 is 2, right? Row 0, column 1, right? Row 0, this is row 0, this is row 1, this is row 2. Row 0, column 1. Column 1, this is column 0, this is column 1. Remember, zero-based counting, right? Okay, so if that's the way we want to do it, You can also make jagged arrays where they're not equal. This is more like a rectangular array because each array inside the array is the same length. You have, 3 rows, but they all have 2 columns. You can make an array that has 3 rows, but some of them only have 1 column, and some of them have 2 columns, and some of them have 5 columns, right? That's called a jagged array, okay? So it's kind of something that like we're doing with our matrix, if you think about it, right? Multi-dimensional arrays, you can also declare them this way, right? Where you can basically say an array of arrays, right? You can do it this way as well, right? You can also, when you're looping through, this is a very common construct for looping. You have the outer loop, which is the rows, and the inner loop, which is the columns. So what you're doing here is you're saying console right line, row, column. If I want to print a matrix out or a multi-dimensional array out, I can do it this way. Okay. Same thing if I want to look at something that looks like this. Here's storing a grid of values using a 2D array. So imagine I have a grid like in an Excel spreadsheet, and I want to store the values of a grid inside of an array. I could do something like this. Or I can use square brackets. So then, back to what I'm asking you to do inside of our little thing here, let's take a look at this. If I had a set of career presets like this, right, then instead of having Army, Scion, Rogue, Telepath, and Tinker like we did, right, what if I did an array of arrays, right? How could that help me? How could that help me? Well, how that'll help me is, if I go to the next page, instead of, this is a you do thing, I want you to set up a career menu with nested loops, right? Right now, our career menu looks pretty ugly, all right? This is a challenge for you this week, guys. Hard, all right, compared to last week. So imagine replacing all this, where there's a lot of repeated code, right? We have like agility, and we have all this stuff. What if tomorrow I want to change my spread for Army or Scion? What if I have, instead of like 5 of these templates, what if I have 100? I have 100 different templates that you can change, and they have all different numbers. Am I going to go through, and if I want to swap things around or change them here, and not only here, but I got to change them here, I got to change them here, I might have to change them other places. That's a lot of changes I got to make. These are hard coded. I don't want to hard code anything. Hard coding is bad, right? Remember, I want to write once, and I want to be able to be flexible to change anytime I want, right? So a couple things I need to do this. I need the short form names of my attributes because those can change too. So up here, let's make another array, and we'll call this short names. So string, primary attribute, and we'll call this short, okay? And that's going to be equal to, like this. It's going to be agility is AGL, right? The short versions. STR, VGR, right? PER, INT, and, well, need these, right? Because then what I do if I do this is when you guys are going to use the loop, right? I can fix that up. Next, I got this while loop, and I've got this hanging out here, this character name, right? I don't have to put this character names in the while loop. Remember, I've been moving my variables outside the while loop. Let's do that too. So I'm going to move this variable kind of at the top, right? Like out here, character's name can go out here. I'm moving I can delete all this now because I'm in my feature branch, so I'm not afraid. Because remember, worst case scenario, what can I do? I can just switch back to main. And nothing's changed. I haven't lost anything, right? How about this stuff? The career is unknown. My career choice, that's 0. I have to keep that. And has chosen career, all of that is also variables, right? But you know what, guys? I want to redo these. Every time I loop, right? So that's okay to stay there. I think these are like little while loop variables that I can keep, right? Character title and all this kind of stuff. Do I have to do this every time in my while loop? I mean, I'm changing the colors of my console. Do I have to do this every single time? Right? The console is always going to be a background of gray. Do I have to ever change that? Nope. So I'm not going to put it in my while loop. My while loop will do that every time. That's no good. The white color, that's also not necessary. So I can take these two things and I can move these two commands outside of my while loop and put them kind of at the top, like up here somewhere. Way at the top here, okay? Now I made some changes. Let's try them out. So I'm going to try these changes out, see what happens. Still works okay. I can still choose like telepath, and I'm still good. Everything's good with the world, still, okay? So let's put this up on GitHub. So I'm going to say git add dot git commit -m, yes.
Well, I can't really because I'm struggling with an error at the bottom.
What's your error?
It has something to do with adding the roll 5d10.
Ah. Okay. Oh, git push origin and then feature dash array. Let's make sure that I'm in the right branch. Git branch. Right? Feature array branch. I'm still on the other branch, right? Sorry, Damien, what were you saying? You said you had a problem with.
Roll 5d10.
Uh-huh.
I want to add that to case 6 thing. Why every time I type that, it just results in an error.
That means you've done something wrong. You put it in the wrong location or someplace that's inaccessible. We'll have to come back to that. All right, so I want to convert this into a multi-dimensional array called career templates. Okay, I want to do that. So that would look like this. So I want to make a multi-dimensional array called, look at this. This is the way you do this. Multi-dimensional array, right? An array of arrays called career templates. That's what this is, right? And what I'm going to do is actually have the outer array here and all of these arrays. Hear me out here. I'm going to copy all this and put them in here. But I don't need all of this. I don't need this, this, or these. So this is a multi-dimensional array. I can do it this way. And I can put commas in between because these are each of the elements of the array. Each element now of the array is another array instead of something else. Do you see this? And this would be, let's put some comments in here. This would be Army. This would be Scion. This would be Rogue. This would be Telepath. And this would be Tinker. Okay? So can I replace these with this somehow? Right? How do I do this? Okay? And I want to use these inside my career choices. So instead of using update career template Army, right? Instead of doing it this way, I want to pass in that particular object. How do I do that? In fact, should I even do this at all? Let me explain. Use case 01, right? So the first use case, the first option I choose here, right? When I choose the number, whatever that number happens to be, that career choice is an index, no? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? So imagine if I can take the career choice and somehow index the one that I want instead. So career choice could be something that I use. Okay, so instead of doing this, what if I did this? If I say something like career templates, and then notice that there are two parts to it, right? I want to access two parts to it. How do I get the one that is Army? Remember, it's 0, 1, 2, 3. Each one of these things, I want to do not this one. I just want to do, what if I just wanted to do this? Like, 0. Could I do that? What does that give me? Career template 0 is a multi-dimensional array. So if I look through here, remember this is row, column. I don't care about the columns. I don't care about that. All I care about is the rows. Each row is an array, which satisfies the condition of my use career templates function. My use career templates function is listening for an array. That's what it's listening for. So I could replace the names, Scion, Rogue, and whatever, with career template 0, 1, 2, and so on. Let's do that. So career template 0, and we'll test it. Career templates 1, career templates 2, career templates 3, career templates 4. Okay, could do that. And to test this out, let's test it out. We're using the career templates. We're migrating from this to something that looks like this. Okay, let's try this. Let's press play. So I'll say Tom, and if I do something like Army and press 1, then I still get the same thing, right? So now I'll say, for us to migrate, we don't need this anymore. All this stuff, we don't need this stuff anymore, and I can comment it out. Right? So I've migrated to multi-dimensional arrays. So why is this helpful? You're still not there yet, right? Because we can do better. That's why. We can do better. And that's what this whole day is about, doing better, making it more compact. Git add dot. Git commit -m. And we'll say something like migrated careers to career templates multi-dimensional array. Git push origin feature array. Okay, really cool. Excellent. Right? I don't need this stuff anymore. I can get rid of it. I don't need these career templates. These are gone, right? I migrated to this thing, which, by the way, if you look here inside of your ICE 5, we've come to this point. We did 1, 2, we did these 2, we did this, right? Now it's the you do parts. And this is the part that's a little bit more difficult, right? Actually, I did this part for you too. Jesus, what did I do? I did a bad thing. I even did this one for you too. So I did one thing for you that you're supposed to do. Damn it, right? Yes?
I tried to delete the original integer templates here, like above the
It's going to give you errors. Yeah, because
like
you.
the one above the big arrays.
Yeah, you give you errors.
That just gives me errors.
Yeah, I know.
So I'm keeping that.
So this is what I want to do next before we answer that question. I want to do this. I want to look at the career choices, this switch case. Can I make the switch case better? I have this repeating stuff here. Look, career, user template, career, user template, career, user template. What do I want to look at? When my choice is between 1 and 5, I want to do this. How do I do that in a case statement? It looks like this. If career, remember this has to be a thing. I want to do something like this. I want to say case career choice is, kind of like, it's kind of less than or equal to 1, or sorry, greater than or equal to 1, and, you have to use the and keyword, career choice, that's what I want to do, right? Career choice is less than or equal to 5. That's what I want to do. I want to do this, right? But it doesn't matter because it says career choice cannot implicitly convert bool to int, right? I want to convert this to this and this. That's what I want to do. So let's switch back. Let's switch our thing back, undo. I want to do this. I'm showing you what I want to do, okay? Can we not switch back to a if-else statement, right? That's what I want to do. I want to switch back to my if-else-then statement, right? Because I really only have 3 cases now. If I've got a thing between 1 and 5, my random, or some bad choice. There's 3 things. If, else. That's a way better case for if, else than a switch case anymore. Switch case, my need for a switch case is gone suddenly, right? So can I convert this back, right? Can I convert this back, to an else, if, this one here. So let's try this. So I'll say if, here we go, if career choice, let's put this in now as an if, if, you know what we'll do? We'll do it separately, guys, just so that we'll do what we've been doing this entire time. We'll migrate again. Here's the migration, all right? If my career choice, okay, it's greater than or equal to, it's greater than 0, but how do I want to put it? I want to make a number between 2 values, between 1 and 5, right? Between 1 and 5. That's the first one. It can't be, it's got to be greater than 0. Greater than 0, right? And career choice, I'm going to run overtime today, guys, is less than 5. Less than 5 or less than 6. Sorry, less than 6. If that's the case, then I can do something, right? Else if, right, my career choice, this is the second one, my career choice is if it's equal to exactly 6, right? If that's the option, then do something. And then else, if bad things happen, if you do anything else other than that, then those are the things that I want to do. Does this make sense? I have 3 options now instead of like 5 or 6. 3, right? If it's between 0 and 6, how do I fix this problem? I want to do the career is the army name, right? And it really depends on the choice. If my choice is 1, I really mean 0. So I'm going to do what? Subtract 1 from it. Let's try this out. So I'm going to go like this, 4, and I'm going to go from, I'm going to do I want to do the career choice, but instead of a for loop, I don't want to do a for loop here. I want to use the career choice to do what I have to do all this. Career is this. So I want to say career, and that's going to be the name of my career, right? My career names. That's called careers, right? That's careers. So I want to do careers, and it's going to be career choice, but that career choice is only from 1 to 6, right? And I don't want to do 1 to 6, right? 1 to 5. I don't want to do 1 to 5. I want to do 1 to 5 minus 1. Because if I put 1 in, it's going to be 0, right? If I put 2 in, it's going to be 1. If I put 3 in, it's going to be 2, and so on. So it's going to map to my array. It's mapping to my array between 0 and 5. That's what this does, okay? Be careful. If this is wrong, I can go index out of bounds, right? So that's something that I have to do. Next, if my career choice is 6, what's my career going to be? Well, that's going to stay the same. That's going to be career is equal to random. We know that's the case there, right? And what about if it's something else? Well, if it's something else, we can take all this stuff in the default case, all this stuff, and we can put that up here. Just like that. This is I'm just migrating, okay? Now, what about this use career template stuff? It's the same thing. I can grab this, use career template, and now I can do this. I can say that it's a career choice minus 1. Can I not? This is like all of this, okay? Well, one thing I'm missing is this has chosen career. I got to put that in there too, right? Has chosen career is also something I got to do, right? In my choices, I got to put that in here too. Here, and I got to put that in here. And oh, I'm missing this other part for else if, which is career choice 6, which is this one. So I'm going to grab all this, this part, grab all this, and move that up to this. So this little if, else, if, isn't that better? Look at that. Isn't that better than all the switch case? I don't have to repeat myself as often here. Does this make sense? Think about it. I'm saving all this typing, and I'm going into this nice little tight little code block right here, right? Let's try this. So I'm going to comment all this out. I comment all of this out, all of this, all the way down to here, right? I'm going to comment it out here with this little comment button, right? And now, let's see if this still works. Here's the little code block, and if, else. Allison's got this like furrowed look in her face, like she's like, I don't know, she's worried, right? Let's see if it happens. So if I run it, let's see what happens. So I go name, Tom, and I put a choice of 1, and we're good. And if I do it again, and if I go Tom, and I put -1, it's going to say, nope, it's not correct. And, you know, please run the program again. Tom, and if I put like 6, then we have a random numbers. And if I go this, and if I go Tom, and I go 3, then we're good. We got rogue, right? So all of this works, and I've migrated. So now, beautiful thing that we've done. What a beautiful thing, right? We can get rid of all this stuff. We don't care about all this, right? We can get rid of it, and this too. These are all things we can get rid of. All these comments we made, right? Because remember, they're all up on GitHub anyway, right? So we don't have to keep this stuff. All right, so this, let's make a note. We're going to say something like this block or this statement replaces the previous switch case. Okay? That's what this does. Save. And let's push this up to GitHub. Push this up to GitHub. Do you guys have this, first of all? Are you with me? You have this or not? Okay. Guys, I'm going to produce the video today. Okay? You don't have to panic. I'm producing the video today because there's a lot. Okay? Whenever I give you a lot and it's hard to follow, I'm going to make the video happen. Yes? Today. It's going to be due tomorrow. Okay? But the reason why I need to do this because there's so much I'm giving you in one day, right? And there's no way, even me, I wouldn't be able to keep up with myself, right? So, and the reason why I'm saying that is because there's so much to do, and I want you all to understand this is pivotal, foundational stuff. And if you don't understand this stuff, again, you're going to be left behind. And so whenever that happens, I'm like, well, the video's okay. I'd rather have people following the video than not knowing what to do, okay? But I want you to be able to explain it for yourself. So you need to understand what I've done here, what I've migrated here. So, okay, now let's push this up to GitHub. So view, terminal, and I'm going to say something like git commit -m, and we'll say something like migrated from switch case to if else for career choice. It's just a coding change, right? Okay? It's a coding change that I've made. Wonderful. It's a beautiful thing. Now, for you to do. This is where you have to think about. You have to do some thinking, my friends. Okay? I want you, for you to do. You need to migrate this ugliness right here, which is hard-coded, into a for loop, a double for loop that does this exact same thing. So stuff that's not going to change. You're not going to change the first line. You're not going to change the last line. Those things are going to stay the same. Okay? But I want you to think about this. This is repeated. This is repeating over and over again. Look, guys. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. For loop, right? Army, Scion, Rogue, Telepath, Thinker. That comes from the career names. Look at the career names. It comes from here. These are the career names, right? And agility, strength, vigor, blah, blah, blah. That comes from these names right here, right? So what I want you to do is a double for loop. And if you look at this, this is the challenge. Here's your challenge for today. It's one thing. All right, I think I made you do, plus some minor other things. One thing. I want you to start it like this, okay? Here, and the ... I want you to replace the ... with your own code, stuff that's missing. And there's also probably missing some stuff here too. Inside of here, there's other stuff that's missing. But this is what I want you to do. The career index is going to be your career's length, right? Then your attribute index is your primary attribute short length, right? And what you want to do is you want to use a double for loop, right, to construct what you need. Can you do it using arrays? This is your challenge. Must use arrays. Okay. So that is your challenge for next week. It's going to be worth your marks, right? This, I've already done this for you, all right? But you also need to do this. You need to merge things back in to the main branch, because right now, the branch that I have right now is my feature branch, right? And that's it. Questions around what I want you guys to do. Do you understand what I want you to do? All right? Yes, yes, no. Who says no? Who does not understand what I want? Again, I want you to take this and I want you to convert it into a double for loop where I don't need this. Why would, actually it's going to be more code than this. Remember I say like I want to reduce the code, but this is going to be more code than this. Well, why? Because in the future, what if I have 20 more careers, 50 more careers, 100 more careers? Do I want you to type out 100 more lines? It's unsustainable, my friends. It doesn't make any sense, right? What about if I switch things around? I want to change the career numbers. I want to change them in one place and they change everywhere, right? As opposed to you hard coding everything that I go through by hand and change. Like a good example of this is this. What if I changed my army, so instead of 35, 35, 30, 30, I said, you know what, I think the army should have a higher vigor. And I moved 35 to these two things around, okay? If I did that. And if I did that, then you'd have to change this, right? Army would have to change, and you'd have to change all the other stuff that we had before. Remember? The other construct that we had before, which was like all those individual numbers. You'd have to change all that, right? This way, you have nothing to change. You change it one place, it changes everywhere. That's why we've moved to arrays. Arrays makes more sense for our thing that we're doing, okay? This is also problematic, all right? This is not great, but we're not going to handle that this week because you know what? This is non-descriptive. We don't know what the heck these mean at all. Next week, I'm going to introduce something called an enum, an enumeration, that's going to help us with this, right? Where the enum is a descriptive value that identifies the integer. Okay, that's where it's going to be. So we can use the enum instead of 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, because that means nothing to us. 5 years from now, you're going to look at this and you're like, what does secondary attribute 0 mean? That makes no sense, right? And what does primary attribute 0 mean? I have no idea, right? We need some helper stuff, and we're going to do that with enums next week, okay? That's it for me, guys. Good luck on your challenge. Yes? I'm going to make the video available later today. I'm going to make it public, yes? And I'll come back and help everybody. 1 second, I'm just going to stop recording. One thing also, when you pull from my repository, before I go, one last thing. I better say this too. Remember that there are 2 branches in my repository. So if I go to my repository right here, I got to do this now. Let's change the stuff in here, the visibility. Here it is. Let's change it to public so you can see it. Sorry, guys. I know I'm running over time. I do apologize. Do you have another class right now? Good. Just give me 2 minutes, all right? Because I want you guys to have everything you need for this one. Again, it's a bit of a challenge, but I want you guys to try. You've learned a lot, so let's see if you guys are good enough. Okay, so now it's public. You should be able to see it now. Take a look, right? One thing is, remember, I have 2 branches, right? When you pull, you need to specify that you want to pull both branches, right? So how do you pull a branch down? Let me show you how to do that, right? So remember, if I download stuff, right? If I download stuff, here's the feature branch, right? Take a look. I can rename it. I can do a bunch of stuff. That's my view. But when you look at branches, Do you see the branches? Take a look. Do you see them? Go up on my GitHub, please. Take a look, guys, please. Tell me what you see. You see the branches?
I see main and feature array.
Awesome. Okay, but what happens when you copy it? If you're going to try and copy from me, don't do it is the answer. Don't copy mine. You can use my feature array branch as an example of what you need to do. Please do not copy this thing, because it's not going to work for you unless you clone both branches. You have to kind of pull both branches, right? I don't want you to take my repository and use it as yours. I want you to use my repository only as reference. Look at it. If something is different compared to what you're doing, and then try and understand it. That's what I want you guys to do. It's not about, this is not a cheating, not cheating thing. This is a, I want you guys to understand thing. All right? That's why I'm sharing it with you. Okay? So please do that. So make sure you can see both branches, and then when you look at the other branch, at the feature array branch, look inside the program.cs file, and that's what I want you guys to do. You have to make your own feature array branch, right? Because that's part of your requirement for your in-class exercise 5, right? If I don't see a feature array branch in your in-class exercise 5, you will get 0 marks for the stuff that you and I haven't done together. All right, just letting you know. Please don't do that. Please make yourself your own feature array branch, okay? That's it for me, guys. Yes?
Just confirm that it's due tomorrow.
Tomorrow night at midnight. And I'll fix up those things that I put up on the thing, okay? Thanks a lot, guys. And then I'll stick around for help after.